Hi, what do you do when you get bored? For me, I sit back, turn on a video of my favorite YouTuber
Alright, let's try to get this tree coming in here.
and play a few silly mobile games. While browsing through the App Store, because of my slight fondness of manga and manhwa, the art style of Soul Apocalypse caught my eye. I downloaded it and was met with a typical AFK arena type game. Not really anything new there, but it was done really well. Gameplay, same old system, nothing groundbreaking. But then the character design? Wow. A huge range of cool looks, styles, body types and weapons. You could just see that these characters all had different stories and lives. You couldn't even compare it to all the other AFK gaming slop. Also, after every time you beat the boss level, you would get a few pages of story, with some great art and cool action scenes. The story even had twists that got me hooked on it, and shockers like character deaths or even fake character deaths. And what probably seems obvious to you now definitely wasn't obvious to me. The game had a good story and great art because it has its own manhwa. And what adds to the shame is that this didn't occur to me a week after downloading it, also not after a month, yeah, not even a year. It took me 3 years. Granted, I stopped playing the game about a year and a half ago and only started playing it again a few weeks ago, but still a pretty dumb thing to do. But let's leave my shame in the past and take a look at what this Manga really is. Sindorim is the name of the city that was built miles under Seoul after the apocalypse because it was filled with radiation. But not every former resident of Seoul lives down there. The people that aren't lucky enough to get into Sindorim still live in the ruined world above, which now goes by the name of Hell, and try to survive scavenging and killing each other for money and food. Two of those people that live in Hell are the 18-year-olds Jumbo and Thunder, a pitcher and a batter duo that after being affected by the radiation stopped growing and aging. But in turn, the physical abilities and personal traits got buffed to superhuman level. This phenomenon only happened to a few adolescents that hadn't stopped growing yet, and those superhuman now call themselves the Kiss. So the story starts 6 years after the apocalypse, which technically makes both of them 24, but they call themselves 18 because their growth completely got stumped. Thunder and Jumbo now work as bounty hunters, going from place to place, easily beating non-Kiss enemies because Thunder can hit so fast with his baseball bat that he can repel bullets or even rockets. And Jumbo can throw baseballs with 300 kilometers an hour in any direction he'd like, and they will always hit his target. Oh yeah, and he's like 13 feet tall. And he can only say the word Jumbo. Hold her ass, dude. Thunder is extremely money hungry, and Jumbo is just hungry. So when they got the offer to hunt down a gang worth 1 billion won, they quickly accepted. Coincidentally, the gang came right to them. Well, all except their leader. But this dude, Cooking Oil, yeah, not the best name, was quick to point out the location of the gang leader because he's just a huge piece of shit, and all of his underlings, like Cooking Oil, are his classmates that he bullied even before the apocalypse began, because he was always the biggest and strongest in their class. Now the leader is also a Kiss, and before the apocalypse he loved playing a game where you punch each other in turn, and when the player that's currently punching says Sal, you need to catch his punch to win. And the leader always won because he was very strong, and the mutation made him a freak of nature. Now he can kill people in only 2 punches. That's why his nickname is Punch Punch. Yeah, the shit name trend continues. So when Thunder, Jumbo and Best Boy Cooking Oil arrive at the leader's hideout, Thunder proposes to play his favorite game to decide what happens. If Thunder wins, he just comes with them willingly to collect the bounty, and if he loses, then Thunder will become his underling. Then, Thunder hits Punch Punch with a twist that no one saw coming. His player for the game will be Cooking Oil. Yeah, this dude. But despite the odds, he actually does it. He punches punch with a quick punch in his punchable face. Sorry. And then he nearly gets his head blown off before Thunder stops punch, but that's not too important. In my mind, Cooking Oil beat him all on his own and overcame his trauma of getting bullied. So the group cashes in their captured 1 billion bounty and make their way to the next target, which they get directly from the boss of the bounty organization, H-Hitter. Yeah, I know. Who is just a relatively high-ranking member of Sindorim. Because of the difficulty of this mission, they even get 1 billion up front. After Thunder and Jumbo leave, Stoneblade, the right-hand man of H-Hitter, tells him that he doesn't even think that our favorite duo can beat their new target, Big Bear. And this is the point where I think that the story gets a bit more interesting and a lot more substance. Them going around from target to target and focusing only on fighting was fun, but now with the Big Bear case, new themes get introduced to the story, because Big Bear is a child trafficker. He collects young kids whose growth stopped due to radiation, keeps them chained up and sells them off to rich people living in Sindorim. This also shows us that Sindorim is not as great as you think it is. Before that, you just thought that something was maybe a little bit off, but this just confirms it. The space above ground may be called hell, but the Garden of Eden down below is not far from being hell itself. It also doesn't help that the Prime Minister of Sindorim looks like this. I think that's enough for the story summary, so let's get to the art style. And the art is really cool. It reminds me a little bit of the best webtoon of all time, Helper. A cartoony style that still manages to be serious enough when needed, and the use of color is really good. Normally everything looks pretty lively and colorful, especially the characters, even though it's a wasteland. But for example, when Thunder gives up on catching Big Bear alive after he sees the child trafficking victims, all emotions leave his body, and therefore the pages get drained of color as well. Where before everything had bright shining colors, now everything is just grey. The general portray of emotions through colors, also in other instances, is done very well. When you use a variety of bright colors, the absence of said variety really has a great effect. Also shown when only one color or two are used. I already briefly mentioned it, but the characters are top notch. The designs are so cool. They all have different body shapes, different styles, just pure drip. And obviously smoking is bad and lame, but this dude smokes through his gas mask. Gotta respect it, man. Also some really interesting weapon and power choices. Like this dude has a sword that turns people to stone, which I guess you could have seen before. Our main characters are baseball players and fight with bat and baseball, which is a bit rarer, and this dude fights with a billiard cue. That's just peak. Just great ideas all across the board. The speed in which the story gets translated is the only downside, but just read what's out till now and wait for the next release. And the mobile game is also pretty cool, I guess, so you can try that too and add me. I think that's everything, so stay safe, stay happy, bye!